to thank you for coming this morning to do a little job preparation. You have a big job to do on Monday night. And I know that you're here for two reasons. One, to see if the candidate that you're going to see today has the values that you share. Does he represent your values? Does he have a record, or is he just trying to say the right things? And the second thing that you have a job to do for this country is to look the candidates in the eye and judge their character. You get to do that. That's not something you get to do openly every day. But in this election, there are a lot of good candidates who have put themselves out there, and your job is to look them in the eye and to understand, do they have character? Are they being genuine? Are they telling you the truth? And do they have integrity? Because this election is going to come down to trust, more so than any time maybe in our lifetime, because we have been electing politicians, sometimes really good people who somehow go up to Washington and end up not doing what they tell you that they're going to do. And the reason that 27 million Texans are so happy with their junior senator from Texas is because, to the chagrin of many in Washington, our junior senator, Ted Cruz, has done exactly what he said he would do. So I'm going to tell you three quick things about Ted Cruz that I don't know if you knew coming here, but maybe you can take home with you. And my goal with telling you these three things is for you to fall in love with Ted Cruz, just like I did. I know that people will go to caucus because they believe in someone, or maybe because their friends and neighbors ask them to, but I think the people that really get out and campaign are people who fall in love with their candidate. And I will tell you three things about Ted Cruz. I am not a risk taker. I was raised in a conservative Christian household in a relatively small rural town on the central coast of California. We had a couple of acres, and we spent our Sundays weeding corn and picking berries and trimming trees and baking bread. My brother and I had a small business. I'm a conservative. I'm not a big risk taker. And I flew to Texas to work on the George W. Bush campaign, and I met Ted Cruz, and I voted for him within the first 5 minutes. And let me tell you why. Number one, this man knows what he believes, and he's willing to put himself out there. He's willing to work hard, bears the stripes of fighting the fights for your values for 2 decades of arguing for the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, for the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms, for a right to privacy in the Fourth Amendment, and he understands the role of the federal government is a small one, and that most of the power should be put back to the states through the 10th Amendment, and he has fought over and over and over for these values. That is called courage. And that's the first reason I fell in love with Ted Cruz. The second reason is this is a person who questions the status quo. And I will tell this story at my own peril because Caroline is in the house. But we have a 7-year-old who's in 2nd grade, and she was doing her math homework one night with Ted, and Ted was supposed to read her the instructions, and she was supposed to do the problem set. So I set them up to do that, and I left and went into the other room. And just like each and every one of you, each of our kids reflects the parents to a certain degree, and Caroline's a lot like her dad. So Ted set out to read the instructions, and at the end of it, Caroline said, "You know, Dad, thank you, that's very interesting, but I disagree with that advice." She said, "I think we can do the problem this way," and she did it, and it turned out just fine. You have a senator who went to Washington and looked at the party leadership and did not do exactly what he was told. He did what you told him to do, not what the Republican Party told him. And lastly, what you most certainly won't see in the eyes of the news media is what an incredibly personally thoughtful person this is. Ted is the person who comes home and sits on the floor and plays games with the girls. He's the person who comes off the campaign trail so tired and doesn't forget my birthday, takes me out to dinner at 11 o'clock at night because it's where I wanted to go, and he was there before me, as most of us wives can probably guess. Ted's the person who last Valentine's was in a very busy time of his life planning this campaign. I knew he wouldn't be home until the evening, so I went out and bought flowers for his mother, for me, for the girls. I bought the cards. I almost signed them. Ted came in the door with big bouquets of flowers. Ted never forgets to remind the women in his family how special we are. And he's also the person who's going to be there when you need him. He is the best friend in the world. We had our dear friend who underwent a surgery. It was an incredibly busy time on the Senate floor. Ted canceled his schedule that morning, went to the hospital, and held their hand for 6 hours during that surgery. That is who Ted Cruz is. With that introduction, I want to introduce my husband, but I don't know if he's in the house. Is he still doing press, Steve? I can go on and on. In fact, I tell people it's even better when Ted doesn't show up. Because then I can tell you more and more. Is he coming or should I? Okay. When Beck's in the house.